Artsy Friday on the Morning Cruise.
Keeping it all about entertainment, arts and culture here on the Morning Cruise, Bush Radio's magazine show with your host, me, Denisha Adams. And this is where we showcase theatre productions as well as local talent. So that's actors, singers, musicians, boy bands, girl bands, everybody in entertainment. This is where we give them that platform. And today we're going to be showcasing a production taking place at the Artscape, was going to be, and it's called Dress to Impress. And we spoke a little bit off air, and he was saying that this has actually started off at the intimate theatre and has now moved to a bigger stage, and which is the Artscape. And everybody knows that the Artscape is where a lot of the major productions take place, like opera, ballets, etc.
Some people describe it as the pinnacle venue to showcase your productions or talent.
Yes, exactly. So you're in a good place. And The Voice is the playwright and the director.
And I'm in it.
And you're in it, yes, of Dress to Impress. So firstly, introduce yourself.
Well, hello everybody. My name is Jeremeo Le Cordeur. I'm 22 years old and I graduated from City Varsity School of Media and Creative Arts in 2008. And ever since then, I've just been active. I've done a lot of theatre work, and being involved in so many shows really inspired me to write my own stuff. And I did. So I started writing my own stuff, and being so attached to one's stories, you kind of don't want other people to direct them. So you feel like, I'll just do it myself. And it's been a major learning curve. I've learned so much, and I've grown from it so much as a person.
Okay, you said that, you started writing for yourself. So Dress to Impress is not your first work.
Yeah, well, I did a lot of stuff in high school where I wrote little pieces for school assemblies, and where a teacher would come and pull me out of class and say, Jeremeo, write a little thing for the assembly. So for me to write stuff, it's always been there ever since high school, but it's really been developing, and it's now entering into that professional world where people are coming to see you and crit you on it. So it's quite a really touchy subject,
Okay, so tell us a bit about Dress to Impress.
Dress to Impress. First of all, it's about a young couple, and I kind of take you into the little moment where you see how they were in the past. So when the show starts, I take you back to the past where you see them on their wedding night, and you see how in love they were and just how they click as a unit. I then waste no time, and I take the audience immediately 3 years later, where it's the exact opposite, where there's a total miscommunication, and they are just not getting along, and they're leaving each other little remarks, and basically what it's become is the husband feels like he should take care of his wife. It's his duty to take care of her, and she should be at home, doing the housework. And of course, he married the most stubborn wife on the planet, who's also wants a career. So she's like, no, that's not gonna happen. I have a job too. So then having sort of drifting apart, taking their own paths, they decide that maybe what they need is a little adventure to rediscover each other. And then they decided that, okay, we'll give each other a week to experience life in each other's shoes. And they are both extremely competitive, so they go all out, hence the title, Dress to Impress. The husband goes to a salon and he goes all out. He gets the wig, he gets the heels, he gets the tops, he gets the jewelry. And his wife, she gets the suits, the ties, the waistcoats. And they literally take a week to live in each other's lives. And of course the fun starts when they start to sabotage each other, because eventually one of them wants to win the little lesson.
Okay. Now, I'm listening to, the storyline, etc. And what influenced you to write Dress to Impress?
A lot of people ask me that. They were like, this is something a woman would normally write, because, like I said, it's all about the woman and that she has feelings too. And what people are doing, I find, is even in high schools, I think men all over the place, all over the world, are actually degrading women. Some of them doing it subconsciously, because women, some people,
it's habitual.
Exactly. Some men only see women as being good for one thing, which I think is wrong. Women spent how many years in the past trying to fight for their rights. So it has a deeper message, but I don't know what actually inspired me to do this, but one of my friends once said that I have a really strange brain. I've got stories all over here.
This is what makes you perfect.
One at a time, but it started off with one simple idea, and it just started developing from that. Like, I wanted a young married couple, and I wanted them to switch roles. I thought it would be a nice little fresh and young approach. And a lot of people say, well, how is this different from Freaky Friday? And I'm like, no, it's you come, you see it, and you really you take a journey with these two people. It's their adventure. You come and you enjoy it, and you see them for who they are and how they grow from this adventure. Because I think it's a really, really awesome show for couples. Last time I've had couples, watching the show and turning to each other and say, you see there, you see there, you see there, you shouldn't do that.
Exactly. So it's entertaining and informative.
Definitely. And there's dance, there is fashion, there's little gossip. We just basically the whole story is about this couple, and then a lot of stuff added to it, like then their friends get involved. Then he gets a beautician involved. So it's basically everybody gets dragged into their story, and by the end of the show, each and every character, they've grown from the experience, and you can see that. And the couple itself, they have grown from this amazing adventure, and they rediscover each other, and they go from this better people. So it's more than anything, I believe that writing should have a really strong message, and that's what I did, and it's one of my visions, and people left the show having learned something.
Okay. Well, I just realized when I asked you about influence, and you said it's so difficult to say what really influenced it, because you can't actually ask creative people, people who are creative beings, they think creatively, they do creative things. Generally, it's just something happens, and you just put it down on paper.
It's there,
and then it's there. You know what I mean? You can't explain why it happens. You don't
can't
go and search it. It just happens. I guess, like you said, writing is just in you. So I guess this is why writing must be one of your things. Now, you mentioned, there's so many characters taking place. Like you said, at some point they get the petition and everybody involved.
Yeah.
So how many cast members are there?
I have 8 cast members, and a lot of people said I'm crazy for using 8 people for my first show, but each and every character in the show is so important. It's almost like the show would be not what it is without them. First of all, we have a gay beautician whose name is Gigi, and he's actually the beautician that my character Kevin goes to transform him. So for the comedic relief, we have this beautician who gets really attached to his creation.
Okay.
So we see him in the little video, because I have a video in the show as well, which is actually a pre-recorded scene that I've set up, recorded like an actual television show, that surfaces within the show to create a little cinematic feel to the show. So you see this beautician in the video, and immediately as an audience member, you start asking yourself, will that guy be in for the rest of the show? Because he's so funny. And then when you least expect it, the beautician shows up, and he just sticks around all the time, not wanting to leave his little masterpiece, as he calls it.
Okay.
So of course he just basically throws himself in the story.
Okay, he's like the fairy godmother,
Exactly. That's quite perfect. He's like the fairy godmother.
Okay. And how long did it take for you to get this production on stage?
It took quite a while. Like I said, I originally did it last year for the Intimate Theatre, and it took me about 3 to 4 months to find the right people to write to. Well, I spent the Christmas and New Year of 2009 writing this story. I was literally on Christmas and Christmas Eve and New Year's Day, I was sitting behind my desk and I was writing the story, because the show was scheduled to open March 2010. So I wrote the story and I got the people involved, and it was, like I said, it was more of a learning curve. I didn't have a budget, I didn't have people backing me. It was literally my parents. I turned 21 and I said, well, don't give me this huge party 21st thing. Give me a budget. I want to do my own show. And that's what I used to get my show off the ground from the Intimate. And of course, people responded so well. They enjoyed the show, where they came back saying, oh no, you will have to do this show again. So when I got into contact with Artscape, I was actually wanting to know how their venue rental agreements work, because I'm also doing another show for June. And they emailed me back saying, well, we have an opening at the end of April. And that was at the end of Feb already when they showed me that. So it was really short. I had a really short time to construct this and decide, do I want to do this? Is there enough time? Will I have the money? Will I have this? Will I have that? I called up all my actors and I said, hey, do you want to do the show again? And they all jumped on board, and now we are we're all working together as a unit to make this thing happen.
Okay. Now, my understanding is that, for instance, like the intimate theater, because it's literally intimate.
It's very intimate.
This person's like literally a meter away
Yeah.
from you, and you have the stage, and you have to make it happen. And my understanding is that, depending on the stage, there's a different way to perform it,
Yeah.
Like, you can't, there's no way that Swan Lake can be at the intimate theater. And
No, there's
you
no
know
way.
what I mean? So there's
Yeah.
it's a whole other playing field when you
Yeah.
do it on a bigger stage. So obviously,
course.
coming from intimate theater, how did you decide to craft it so that it suits a bigger stage?
Well, first of all, Dress to Impress was one of those shows where immediately after seeing it the first time, people said, "Oh my word, imagine if this show would be on a bigger stage. It will be so much better." So I was just, fortunately for me and for my entire cast, it's one of those things that we have a bigger stage and we're like, oh, please, we will rock it because we want that bigger stage. We want that bigger audience because, you as an actor, when you're doing stage, you feed off the audience. When they laugh and they give you that energy, you take it in and you push it back. That's when you have that little rush and you on stage and you're telling yourself, oh, wow, this is awesome, and you just want to give them more. You want to put in more to satisfy your audience more. It's one of those things, you get an adrenaline rush just doing it, and it's very exciting.
Okay. Well, what's very interesting is that, I can see that you're very passionate about what you're
yes.
doing. You're just like lighting up right now speaking about it. I mean, any person willing to be writing a play whilst, the rest of the world is counting down 10 to 1 on New Year's Eve has passion. That's definite dedication on your part. So I would say, firstly, congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's good to see ambitious people. Now, back to Dress to Impress, and you said that, the show actually you think is designed for a bigger stage. But does it mean that you have to have more props and lighting and all of those have to come into play?
Well, we can definitely do more, which is a good thing. Because last time we had a little disco scene where, I'll explain the scene quickly, is where, the gay beautician gets in, and of course the husband doesn't want the wife to know that he got a beautician involved to make him look so awesome, because that would be considered cheating. So the wife gets in and the wife demands to know, well, who's this and what is he doing in my house? And the husband quickly concocts a plan where he says, no, this is a yoga instructor. And immediately the gay beautician is forced to do yoga. Correction, yobics, which is a combination between yoga and aerobics.
Okay.
So the gay beautician is then forced to do a yobics lesson with the couple, and that just takes off into a full disco scene with a disco atmosphere, and of course with the gay beautician, to use the track Beyonce, Single Ladies, it seemed appropriate.
There's some yobics going on in the
exactly,
music video.
And of course, we throw in some move from Beyonce herself, and you got a little whole disco feel. And we were just limited in the intimate with what we can do with that. But now we're at the Artscape. So now we can get a mirror ball in there. Now we can actually have lights flashing so that the second the track starts, people feel like they're in an actual disco. So that alone, on a much bigger scale, will be so much better. It's just a case of everything being everything having grown. I remember last year even having looked at the script again. Of course, you read it from a fresh approach after such a long time, and you feel like you've grown as a person, so your script should grow with you. And I've done so many changes. So even people that said, no, we saw the play last year, why would we want to come again? They are in for a big, big, big surprise because there's so many changes. There's additional scenes. Just in some scenes, using lighting alone, you can see how a scene can just increase with 100% in terms of looking and feeling better. So we are going bigger, we are going better, and I really encourage people to come and see the show, and they will not be disappointed.
Okay, and when is it taking place?
It's going to be from the 28th to the 30th of April. So there's going to be a total of 4 shows. We have on the Thursday and the Friday. No, on the Thursday we have a show at 8:15. The Friday we have a show again on 8:15, and on the Saturday we have 2 shows. We have one show at 2:30 in the afternoon for half price, which is only $45, and then again we have a show on the Saturday night again at 8:15 again.
Okay. Well, I definitely hope that people do come out in their numbers, because I think it's awesome, especially I think it's important to support, local productions, local, whether it be local artists, theater productions, etc. I mean, it's like I said, I'm sure that any person listening to this interview can, on their side, feel the passion that you have for what you're doing. You're not just doing it for the sake of.
You do it because
this is who you are.
You love it, and it's who you are. And sometimes, some people just don't see that or appreciate it. And I mean, there's some brilliant work out there. I have another friend of mine, Candice Lynn Williams, who's also doing a show at the moment. And there's just so much going on, and there's people really putting their heart and their soul into these productions, and you can just see what a rush they get from doing this, and it's really a pleasure to watch.
Okay, so I hope people come out with their numbers. But if in any way they'd like to find out more details, perhaps they don't know where Artscape is and they want to be in contact with you, how do they do so?
Well, I'm very active on Facebook, so for all you Facebook people out there, all you do is you go to Facebook, you simply type in Dress to Impress Theatre Show, and immediately you will find all the information about the show. On that page, there will be links to the Artscape, and I'm also on the Artscape website as well. So if you log into www.artscape.co.za, you can go click on the What's On little tab right there, and it will take you to all the shows running in the month. And of course, you'll see Dress to Impress right there. And as well as CompuTicket. It's as simple as typing in my name in CompuTicket, or the show's name on CompuTicket, and all the details will be right there.
Don't forget, it's Dress to Impress.
Yes, that's right.
And it's entertainment, it's drama, it's comedy,
it's dance, it's romance, it's fashion, it's everything.
Okay, well, thanks so much for joining us and sharing your passion. Like I said, I hope people come out in their numbers.
I really hope so.
And have a good weekend.
Oh, thank you. You too. Thank you.
Take it easy though. Don't work too hard.
Okay, I'll try to.
The Morning Cruise with Denisha on Bush Radio 89.5 FM.